So obviously we're here to talk about Abraham's Boys. It takes a brave writer to follow in the footsteps of Bram Stoker. What was it about the Van Helsing story that you felt was unresolved and made you want to explore a new chapter?
Well, my answer on this, I'm not sure will be completely satisfying. Hitchcock had this thing. There's this famous thing where one of the actresses working for him said, "Mr. Hitchcock, what is my motivation in this scene?" And Hitchcock replied, "Madame, your paycheck." And and it's a little bit of the same thing with Abraham's Boys. When I wrote the story 22 years ago now, and at the time I was a failed novelist. I had written four books that no one wanted to buy, and but I had started to write short stories, and the short stories were usually about the weird and the occult and the supernatural. And some of those stories had started to sell and win prizes or get in best of collections. Um, and I was sort of looking for an opportunity to expand my profile. At the time, there was a Hugh Jackman film coming out about Van Helsing, and a woman named Jean Cavalos decided to do a collection, an anthology of short stories about Van Helsing to sort of cash in on the film. And I heard about this, I read about it in Writer's Digest or something, and I thought, I'm getting in that collection. So I decided to write about Van Helsing so I could get in this one specific collection that I knew was going to have a big national printing and a big push from the publisher, and because I thought it would be good for my profile, and so then the question was, what do I have to say about the guy? Do I have anything interesting to say about him? And I guess, you know, artists have certain questions they keep going back to, sort of recurring motifs, and I'm the child of an extraordinary and unusual American. And so I find myself often thinking about extraordinary, unusual Americans and wondering what it would be like to be their son. I often think about like, well, what would it be like if your father was Abraham Van Helsing? What would that make you? What would your relationship be like? And I think what I determined is actually it wouldn't be so nice to be Van Helsing's kid.
That's fair. And one of the biggest changes from the short to the film is that Mina is present. What do you think that Harvey Prusian gives to the film?
I think it's important, and it fleshes out the film. It's a wonderful performance, and it also incidentally makes the film much scarier, because we see that she's under threat. We see Mina's mind slipping away. That's hinted at in the short story, but it's sort of off screen. And I think giving the boys that emotional connection with someone who loves them but is frail and damaged and possibly losing her mind, that's scary. It also explains why the boys have so much heart. That Max and Rudy are more compassionate people than their father, than Abraham Van Helsing. That's Mina's gift to them, is that sense of empathy and compassion.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for your time. My time's over. Keep the adaptations coming, just not loaded, please. Please not loaded. That traumatized me massively.
That's one I'm not sure too many people want to make, because over here in America, of course, the subject of guns is absolutely radioactive. So I don't think you have to worry about that one.
That's you. Thank you so much
Yeah,
for the
take
time
care.
and best of luck with the film.
Thank you.